Welcome to episode number 8 of the Leader Equation. We've got Daniel Ramsey today and his Chief People Officer, Megan Patterson, which we're super excited, and they're from MyOutDesk, all things virtual assistants. And then I also have my lovely co-host back finally, Christy Grossman, who is the owner of OpsBoss. I know, OpsBoss Coaching is here with me, who I am the owner of Ciprani Consulting and the Linzee Ciprani team. And so we're so excited about today because everybody in our industry, plus so many others, are really starting to dive into the virtual assistant world. And so we have what I believe are like the two very best people to talk about it with. And so we're thrilled to have you guys here. Just so everybody knows, they have been working together for 3 years, going on 4. And so they have a ton of leadership knowledge that they're going to impart on us today. And with that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Christy. She's going to take us through our quick fire questions and we'll get started.
Awesome. Nice. I'm actually going to let you guys introduce yourself first. So Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll go to Megan, and then we'll shoot quick fire.
Sure. I'm an entrepreneur. I love starting businesses. I started my first business in the 7th grade selling candy on a bus, which is so funny. And so, you know, I've just enjoyed kind of going from one thing to the next. I'm really passionate about real estate. I still stop at open houses with my kids and family, which drives them crazy. And, you know, I own MyOutDesk, which is a virtual assistant company, and we focus on getting people talent fast and helping them scale and grow. That's what we do.
Love that. So much need for that. And Megan, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies. So I'm Megan Patterson, Chief People Officer here at MOD. We abbreviate it, MyOutDesk MOD. You'll hear us say that a lot.
Yep.
Gosh, I've been 20 plus years in people and service operations and going on 4 years here at MOD. And I have the pleasure to work with all of our virtual assistants. We call them virtual professionals because of their amazing caliber of talent. And yeah, so that's my role, and that's what I do. I think that's the fastest summary, Christy.
What the heck is a chief people officer?
Right? I love it. You wrangle all the people, right?
Yeah. Make sure people are not only fulfilling the vision and the service expectation to each other and to our clients, but also really having fulfilling work. So it is serving people at all angles, which is just a daily privilege and joy. And wrangling, to your point, we'll probably talk about that later.
Ooh, I love that shirt, Linzee.
I love this shirt too.
Oh my
I just made sure everybody could see what I was wearing.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm pretty sure I have one in the mail too.
Totally.
I'm personally delivering yours to the conference.
The OpsBoss Leader Retreat. Thank you for being a platinum sponsor, both Linzee and Daniel.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to go into quick fire really quick so people can just get a frame of reference for you guys, and then we're going to dive into the meat of the conversation. So how many years in business for each of you?
So that's 2003.
Okay, 16.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 1997 for me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Me too. Good. I'm good with math. Did you get that?
I'm like, she's making me think. I don't know if I could do that quick math.
How many years together as a team, as a leadership team?
Maybe 2 or 3 as a leadership team.
Yeah. Yeah. And then really closely together about a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many, you guys are wrangling kittens all over the world, virtual professionals all over the world. How many were on your team the first year of MyOutDesk, and how many are part of the team now?
So I was a real estate broker. We were doing about 750,000 in GCI, and I had 7 virtual assistants at that time. And that's kind of when everybody started knocking down our door and saying, what's this virtual assistant thing? What's a blended model? And that was 2007.
Okay. And how many do you have now? Did you say that?
Oh, no. We're at 1,200 total right now.
Holy cow. 7 to 1,200.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, morning routine. Each of you walk me quickly through your morning routine. Do you have a morning routine, and what is it?
Megan starts.
Totally. Yeah, definitely calendar review. Since, so many of our amazing people are in the Philippines, I see what came into my inbox overnight. That's the first step usually. And then do kind of a calendar review for the day. And then I hop on to a meeting with our virtual professionals. So to see how they are in between client placements and just talk to them. And then I get into the office here in Sacramento to work with our amazing Sacramento team.
Cool. Daniel, what's your morning routine?
Well, none of that. I wake up, coffee, water, first thing, hot tub, read, meditate, journal, and then get ready for the day. That's kind of my go-to. All of my best thinking happens before 6 a.m.
I was just going to ask you about the journaling. Do you journal, do you have a question that you answer every day, or do you just randomly write? How are you focusing that?
No, it's not focused, but it does break down if there's a challenge or opportunity that I'm working on, if there's a people kind of thing going on. Sometimes I'm writing about my kids and my wife, so it's just about whatever's present in the moment that I'm trying to either work through or figure out. I find that when you write down stuff, it becomes clear because you have to articulate it, and it's not a feeling, it's a linear thought. So it makes it so that I understand. And sometimes I'll journal about something for a week or two before I figure it out.
Yeah, that's great processing. Awesome. And then how do you each prep for tomorrow? What are your tips for prepping for tomorrow at the end of the day?
Yeah, you start. Go.
For sure, calendar review. I mean, it's really dynamic here at Mod, so that can change, but we're both big believers of time blocking. So if we anticipate a lot of admin time, making sure we reserve time for ourselves for just core needs or deep work time. That's the night routine before the next business day for me.
Yeah, I always end the day with saying, what the heck do I have to do before 7 a.m. to get ready for the day? And so part of that meditation piece is just, who do I need to be every day when I show up to work? And, some days I don't hit it perfectly, but I find when I do that stuff, my days are much better.
That's awesome. Okay, last couple questions. Book that impacted you the most. Could be an old book, could be the one you just read.
I'll go first. A recent one for me, I don't know if anyone's read It's the Manager, the recent Gallup kind of compilation of 10 years worth of Gallup data. It's really amazing in people ops to just see the value of the manager and how they integrate not just visionary work, but also day-to-day ops. So highly love that book right now.
Yeah, and I'd probably say Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know that sounds silly but that book impacted me early in my entrepreneurial journey. And then, The Richest Man in Babylon was a big deal. As an owner, we're allocating capital and we're deciding where we're in business, so I just find that kind of stuff really great.
Love that. Second to last question. How many streams of income, Megan?
2, Mod and properties.
And you have rental properties. Always love that when you're in real estate. Daniel, how many streams of income?
3. So, 3 real ones and then a fourth. And when I say a fourth, I have a business, a real estate brokerage that is there and we serve, and I'm in a transaction right now. And last year we helped 2 of our employees buy properties and sell properties. So I got to save them a ton of money. But real estate, investments, and then MyOutDesk.
Love that. Okay, last question, best question. What's the other person's superpower? Megan, what's Daniel's superpower?
He's pretty fearless. No holds barred for Daniel. It drives the company, and it's pretty next level.
I love that.
And
Daniel,
Megan is amazing with people. I didn't even know we needed a chief people officer, but one thing that I've learned is that our product is people. And so I actually needed a person that was a ninja at people. And saying that is weird to say because I want to explain it. she just intuitively knows how to get somebody where they're at. And that's, I look at people with their awesome lens always, no matter what. And I think she's got a better sense of who and what motivates people and what drives them and when there's a challenge. So it's been a big deal
I
for
love
us.
that because your business is your people. If you're not investing in your people, you have no business. So I think it's really smart that you have a chief people officer. I love that. So for those of you who haven't been with us in the first 7 episodes, we're talking all things entrepreneur, leadership related, what adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, most importantly, what multiplies your results. So I'm going to throw it back to Linzee, and we're going to dive into the real questions now that we know a little bit about who you are. So let's do it. And nothing's off the table, you guys. We promise real and raw.
I know. So if you guys have questions, make sure you drop them in. I've been watching for some. There's already stuff popping up. So walk us through, how did you guys come together? And Daniel, you know, when you were looking for the chief people person, like, what did that profile look like in your head? And like, how did you know that Megan was that person? Like, what did that look like?
Well, that's an interesting question because Megan's kind of rose up through the ranks. So we needed a recruiter in the US. We needed somebody to help us add some people on to the team and really grow our sales and ops in the US. And that was 3.5-ish years ago. And so we brought her on as a third-party contractor, which is just a straight recruiter, which was cool. And then offered her a role in the human resources area of our business. And then one day it was just like, oh crap, we have to have her. And that's her role. It naturally happened.
Well, and Megan, so walk us through how did you know you wanted to work there? Like, was it just the vision and what they were doing, or like what attracted you to that?
Absolutely, the vision. I mean, the idea of virtual talent was so groundbreaking to me, and to hear about this company, you know, this is 4 years ago before it was really on the radar, and then Maud was doing that 7 years before that even. But to be a part of a company that really creates opportunities and wins on both sides for our clients, to have a solution that works for them, not just next level in service, which we're so proud of, but it's also affordable when you work globally. But then moreover, to create opportunities for our amazing people in the Philippines and to create lives that are so different than some of the domestic employers over there. It was just amazing to be a part of. And that's why I accepted to come on, and that's what motivates me every day. And every time we have somebody, even like you ladies, who are willing to talk about virtual talent on a global level, it's just the daily motivator for us, for sure.
I love that. It's interesting because a lot of our conversation on our podcast is about the entrepreneur and the shotgun leader and what attracts one to the other and why are you in business together. And oftentimes the answer is about the person as a leader. He attracted me or she attracted me as a leader. And what I'm hearing you say is the mission is super important too. And I love that you're so invested in the mission of the company, that's very meaningful to you.
When I think something that shifted, and I'd love to hear her perspective. We took her to the Philippines, and we're involved in a charity. This year, we've done over 116,000 in contributions to charity. So we sent a bunch of kids in Texas to a camp, low-income kids, to help them see that being an entrepreneur is an option. They didn't have to go to college and get a job. They could actually start a business. And so we've done that. We built a house in Ecuador. We've just finished an old folks home in the Philippines. But I think it was 2016 that you went to the Philippines for the first time. And she got to see firsthand some of the charitable work that we take this money directly from our bottom line, and for our clients invest in making the world a better place. So I'm curious. I think that's a story you need to tell.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and Megan, go ahead and answer that too. What made you there's so much that you guys are doing together. So how did that just attract, walk us through what that looked like? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Daniel's right. It absolutely not only gained my appreciation and understanding for what Mod was doing and is doing, but I got to connect with our people and how we were supporting charity like firsthand. And to see that, and Daniel didn't mention there, so I'd like to. Our charitable work over there was really selected by our virtual team. Their recommendations drive that. They did originally, it still does now. And so we're fulfilling their purpose too, and they're wanting to give back into the community in the Philippines. So it's just amazing, and to meet our people and to hear their stories firsthand, which I had the pleasure of doing the first time I visited. And it's not just, about what Mod does, it's the client stories that I heard, these other entrepreneurs, these amazing real estate professionals who have had our VAs as part of their teams for years, and to hear those stories firsthand about how deeply integrated our virtual people are to their US teams. It was just like mind blowing. And you're
share
right.
One of those, maybe one of you guys can share a story along those lines. I think it's like, so we're talking about leadership here on the leader equation, right? So casting the vision among your team and among your clients, we all do that whether we're in real estate or whatever our business is. We're casting a vision, we're sharing the lore and the stories that have built our company. I'd love to hear one of those stories. We didn't prep you with that question, but I bet you have a million.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite brokers is in Texas. He's like one of those very successful guys who owns a technology company, owns a team, and is also a coach. And not to say that that's all of our clients. He's just one of my favorites. We were talking in like 2013, and he's thinking about, shutting down his technology platform because he couldn't find employees. Like, he literally couldn't find somebody who wanted to drive this business, and he was busy flying around. I think he traveled like 275 days a year or some crazy, craziness. And I said, hey, I'm sure we can help you. And so he hires a guy named Chris, and Chris has been with us, I think he's going on his 7th year, and that technology company has tripled in size. He's now involved in the coaching side of the business. He's grown his team to 4 virtual assistants. And the reality is, while I like to talk about the charitable work that we do, the vision and all of that, we're deep in, over 5,000 businesses in the last 12 years, and we've helped them double and or grow and or save them some time in some way. Think about it like this. If you're in the business of selling things right now, you are absolutely spending time on things that don't matter, that don't drive revenue, and we come in and we'll support somebody and help you grow and scale by taking away the non-dollar productive stuff.
So we actually have people watching who, I know we have some people watching who are really great and use MyOutDesk, and we have some people watching who this whole concept of virtual, I like the virtual leverage instead of virtual assistants, because you guys actually do a lot more than just assistant work. You guys can provide help in a lot of areas. So we actually have a whole admin mastermind watching together right now, and they want to know how VAs can help admins on a team.
It's a great question. I mean, look, transaction coordination, one of my favorite stories is my own transaction coordinator was doing a transaction in a place called Woodland. And it was an area that you had to have fire sprinklers. So like you had to have a fire chief come and inspect the house before the transaction would be done. And that wasn't on the title report. So we're 7 days away from closing, and the buyer's agent calls our office and is just freaking out. Well, he had no idea, absolutely no idea, that the phone actually got picked up in the Philippines, that our virtual assistant over there, our virtual talent, took that call, coordinated with the fire chief, made sure the title was updated, called the lender, got a 3-day extension, like coordinated everything. So a month later, I get a card in the mail thanking our transaction coordinator as if she was in my physical office. The guy had no clue. So transaction coordination, listing coordination, marketing, marketing is such a big opportunity, branding, and then really answering the phones, prospecting, kind of nurturing leads. There was a couple 100 million leads sold last year and only 5 million transactions. So lots of work in calling those people up and saying, hey, what's up? Do you really want to buy?
There's really not much you can't do.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there is. I mean, look, we're not licensed. That's the number one thing. So, yeah, we're not licensed. So in places like Texas, we can't prospect. In many places, if it's a warm lead or an inbound lead, we can help nurture that lead and find out what they're looking for and update their stuff like a client concierge. But, you know, everything that is done in a system or a process is our sweet spot. And that's really how we love. And if you're listening right now and you're in a mastermind or you're an admin or you're an operations boss, the best thing that you can do is think about what your day looks like, get rid of everything that's not loving on your client or your team to drive revenue, and we can be there and help.
I love it. Perfect. Well, so let's do this. Walk us through, you know, what did Megan have when you wanted to promote her so that she would be your number 2? You know, what things were like standing out about Megan? Like what things was she taking off your plate or off the plates of others that you were like, she needs to be in management?
She, you know, what's funny is this just happened. So we have, this just happened. When she was involved, stuff got done. So I want to kind of clarify her superpower is definitely people, but she also has an operational mindset, meaning she understands that there's 10 steps and that you have to gain commitment from people, having them own their piece, and then having all the conversations and all the stuff. Like in my head, I just go, okay, we're going here. And then if somebody asks me what the steps are, I'll tell them, but people don't ask, right? And so that's kind of where she fills that gap in between where we need to go and then operationally the 13 million things that have to be done. So I think the thing for me was I knew she was great with people, and over the last couple of years I've learned that she's great in leading the operational piece and getting stuff done.
Execution.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, so if we flip that around, Megan, you know, Daniel, we know that he is a visionary. I mean, he is just trucking her along, you know, building other businesses. And at some point we'd love to just talk through like when, you know, Daniel, when you actually created MyOutDesk, you know, why, because you had this real estate team. So we'll get there. But Megan, you know, I'm sure he's throwing ideas like left and right. And how do you pull those down? To so many of the people that are watching, they have such struggles with like the amount of ideas coming at them and really delivering on that stuff. So what does that look like for you?
That's such a perfect summary of reality. You're right. And we talk about that push-pull of vision and execution, I would say every meeting. Would you agree?
Once a week on Wednesdays at 3:00.
Yeah, it's I'll answer. You know, it's being firm. It's having boundaries. It's stating your case, stating the value all the time to the visionary of how ops details are critical for our consideration for success, in addition to the people factor. But that daily kind of tempering, you're so right, Lindsay, like that's the reality of ops and integrators supporting a visionary. Mm-hmm. So it's openness, it's listening, it's calling the other person out, like, or reminding them when we, you know, Christy said this was like raw, right? So,
yeah. Well, I want to ask, like
we're gonna go there.
Because people come on the show all the time and it's like everything is like unicorns and fairies and rainbows, and the reality is day-to-day life and business is not always rainbows. So like, what does that look like when you call him out? Give me an example of that. Like, how does that go down?
We just had one. Yeah. So here's the thing, and I love it. If you're listening as an operational piece, like I'm very certain until I'm not certain.
Right.
And that's part of having a driver, or in our world, it's called a control. We license our own kind of personality profile, but it's in the disc, it's a D. So I'm certain until I'm not certain. And sometimes Megan gets the opportunity to remind me that there's other ways to look at a problem. And, it's good because so this is a thing that people don't get. Like, I ask her for things like permission. Like the other day, I forget, we have a coach for our sales team, and I wanted another part of our business to actually get some of his brain and crazy on a problem. And I went into our office and I was like, hey, can I do this? What do you think? And it's because if I don't have a check, I'll do dumb things. I will do dumb things. I'll do things without thinking it through. I'll do things, I just see a problem. I see the solution, and then I sometimes don't consider all of it. And so Megan helps me consider all of it.
I love that. And you count on her to speak her mind and to give her opinion and to be that person to hold you in check.
Well, and that's one of our challenges is, sometimes I want her opinion and sometimes I want validation, and sometimes I have to be very clear about what I need. And I'm sure she struggles knowing which is which,
Yeah, well, Megan, walk it, like, what does that look like for you? So how do you know? And are you really clear, Daniel? Like, do you say, hey, I'm going to do this. I want your buy-in, or what does that look like communication wise?
Yeah, there's usually a pause for clarification, or a tempering of saying, hey, yeah, that worked 5 years ago, but we're much bigger now, or it impacts a lot more people now. So pausing to kind of look at the reality, doing a sanity check, that always happens.
Yep.
And I think the one thing, this kind of answers your question, I hope, Lindsay, as well as Christy's last one. I think in ops, we have to embrace risk the way our visionaries do. We have to understand often they look at risk differently than we do. So they're counting on us to have that same sort of mindset to come forward, be brave, talk about the what ifs. They rely on us to give all the what ifs, with every decision we're considering. And I've definitely learned that in our exchange, that because Daniel looks at risk so differently as an entrepreneur, if I adopt more of that openness and embracing of risk, it makes our decision making together so much faster and easier.
Was that something that you guys feel like you grew into? Because I know with Christy and I, we talk about this so often with operations people, because in the beginning, when they first start with somebody, it's like, oh my God, they're going to do all these crazy things. And they're not really checking with me. And then there's a turning point. I feel like at some point where all of a sudden you come together and it's like, now I get him. Now I understand. And now we're going to run together. Do you feel like there was that turning point?
I think for me, it was just, so her superpower was people. And I knew that always. She just makes people feel amazing. Me, everybody, our virtual professionals, our clients, she literally just knows how to love on people. But for me, the trust came when she also has an operational mind, because loving on people and also caring out about our clients' business. Again, we're in a really unique place because a large team that has 500 transactions and this just happened yesterday, and they're like, look, our goal in 2020 is to go to 1,000 and we need help. They come to us and we put together a very specific plan and a very specific who you need on your team today, and they trust us for that. So we as a company hold that responsibility sacred. And so for me, her loving on people was check one. Check two was operationally, I could trust her to care about our clients' businesses as if it was our own. And that's what's unique about what we do is if we're not going to scale a company, then we don't exist, and we don't deserve getting paid. One of the things that I tell people all the time is our clients vote with their credit card every 2 weeks. The moment they stop loving us and we stop adding value to them, they stop voting with their credit card. And so that was a turning point for me.
Well, and Megan, so, how has it changed communication wise and just understanding what his needs are from you? Like, how's it changed from the beginning when you guys really started to partner up and versus now?
That's a great question.
I think there's more empathy and understanding because we've had the luxury of time. That helps, of course, but also taking the leap of faith. Again, that confidence factor is so critical in the mutual respect of the owner, CEO, visionary, what have you, with their key supporter. There's got to be a bridging of two languages, and I think that's what has changed the most. Is the shorthand is easier now, that's there, and the pausing before acting. And it's not just the visionary. We all know in ops too, right? We want to drive results. So sometimes we don't want to deal with the CEO's changing mind. But for mutual pausing and again, sanity checks, calibrating on the shorthand, that's changed the most. And I think that faith, mutual faith, any duo needs in an org, the trust piece is huge.
I think I'm speaking to you visionary leaders, and I don't know if you're listening or not because you're probably looking on your phone and doing something else and answering an email.
We're like
but
32 minutes in, they're out.
Yeah, they're gone. But anyways, here's the thing: is like I've had to clarify my conversation, be clear about what the expectation is, write things down. It's just a different level when you have somebody like that over that one. And it is good because it's up to my game. It means I have to commit to staying the course, driving results, not trying 20 different things. I mean, every day I have 5 different things I would like to do, and it's tough to stick with just the one that we committed to last month, So that's the thing that she helps me stay focused.
So you guys are leading people in Sacramento as well as all over the world. So what different skills, or do you need different skills? Maybe you don't, but my question would be, are there different skills that you need to be a leader virtually versus a leader in the same office? We probably have a lot of people listening who have expansion teams. We have people outside of real estate who have businesses in multiple areas. And we all know, Daniel, what's the statistic that you shared with me a while ago about where we're going in like 2023, certain percentage of the population will be virtual?
Yeah, so it's 2027, and by 2027, more than half of the workforce will have virtual working situations for a portion of their week. And that's, right now we're at like a 2 or 3% of the US workforce.
It's about to change in a huge way. So even if you don't have someone working virtually now, you will probably have someone soon. So what skills would you need to be a leader in a virtual world compared to the traditional world?
It's a great question. And if you're an operations person, here there's twofold challenges. Now I'm talking directly to the operations people. One, you want to hold everything in your brain so that you're super valuable to the company. And that just doesn't exist for a virtual team. And what we tell our clients is, look, you need a blended model where the licensed people, the ones that are loving on the clients, are physically in the office, and everything else that is in a system or a process can be used and done with a virtual assistant. So, what I would tell you as an operations person is you have to take what's in your mind and systematize it. And that's a challenge because that is that growth from individual contributor. You can do a transaction or a listing coordination, or maybe you're the marketing support for the team. That's individual contributor. And to go to the next level, a manager builds systems and processes. So if you're, and then, you've got a leader who creates strategy, and then you have the owner who allocates capital to back that strategy. And those are the 4 different kind of levels when you run and own a team, a real estate team, or really any business. And so the challenge that you have is, number one, are you ready to go from an individual contributor to a manager, build systems and process, measure results, and actually give your job away, and then go on to fight the more important fight, which is generating revenue and growing a business? That's scary. And if you're listening right now, I'm sure you're thinking, yeah, okay, what would I do? That's the question, is that ambiguity isn't easy for, operational folks.
So, but let's go even beyond that. So we're talking, Megan, you're the Chief People Officer, leading accountability, casting vision, all those things that happen at the leadership level, strategy. How is that different when your company is comprised of some traditional and some virtual employees, assistants, whatever you want to call it? Are there different skills that you need?
It's the same in a blended org chart, in the sense that we can all fulfill goals that, cascade up to the vision. But what's different is the communication piece is higher stakes. Right. The planning piece is higher stakes, especially if you're working with different time zones. Even if we work on the same shift, and in our case, our team is 15 hours ahead, we need to, as leaders, front load a lot of work differently when we're thinking about how to cascade it virtually. You have to coordinate a lot of time. You don't have the luxury of having a meeting, just walking down the hall. And so that's a big challenging piece. And then the communication, not just the commitment to communicate more actively than you would in a physical space, but also to communicate with care. We learn that daily. And we're not masters at it. We've been doing this 12 years, and my team and I regularly still have to double our efforts to make sure we understand what the other is needing from us virtually. Because again, it's often all through chat, email, SMS, phone, meetings like this.
I think what it probably does is force you to be so much more purposeful in your business. I think so many businesses are running entrepreneurial just naturally on the fly because we're good at things. And when you have to pre-plan so many things and be purposeful and caring in your communication, that takes time and effort and very much purposefulness. Is that kind of
right? Yeah. Yep, well said.
And I would add, when you work virtually, whether it's with expansion teams or, multiple partners in different locations or whatever, the requirement to gain commitment is so much higher. Like, you state what you're needing, they commit. You might ask them to re-articulate in their own words, ask them if they see any obstacles or have any challenges with delivering that by this time frame. In this, there's a difference between checking a box and getting a result. So one of the things that we focus on when somebody comes in and does a consultation is we try to get away from checklist kind of job descriptions and get into outcome job descriptions, where you're like, look, closing this transaction is awesome, but we need 2 more transactions from properly closing that. So we need to talk to our client, make sure they understand, ask for referrals, serve them how they want to be served, and also make sure that we get referrals from them. And they're like, wait, so I have to be a TC and get referrals?
Right.
Oh, no. So that's a different, I think you'd have to move away from the checkbox and start thinking about outcomes in a new way.
I love that. Let me ask you guys really quickly, because something that you said that I wrote down earlier, and I feel like it ties into this. Megan, you had said that you guys needed core needs time, I think it was, or minutes, and then deep work time. Does that walk me through, is that something you guys have come up with and something you implement regularly? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably because we're a virtual company, so much of our team is virtual. It can really lead to that 24/7 dialed in, situation. Right. And our team is so amazing. They're like us. They're workhorses in the Philippines. So they'll often, send us a text during the daytime, their time, middle of the night, etc. So yeah, we're online kind of all the time. And so to make sure that we get into a space where we can actually pre-plan or do the reflection required to make, thoughtful, executable plans, we typically need private space, and we respect that with one another's schedules. And our teams, bless our hearts, are amazing with that, with us too. Wow. So yeah, I think, great question. I think you're helping me realize, I think it's the virtual component of our company that's
Yeah.
just making it uber dynamic all the time.
Well, and I've worked with virtual assistants from your company, and I love them. And did years ago, probably one of your first clients when I was running a real estate team. And it was funny. It was a different dynamic of like, I mean, just even times and being like cognizant of the fact that they are working through the night most of the time. And so it'd be so funny. I'd be like, "Are you all right? Do you need a break? Are you tired?" And they just, I mean, they're used to it, right?
Yeah, when my first trip over there, one of my first trips, this is like 2011, and I'm like, what the heck why is everybody going into the bar at 6 a.m.? And it's because they work their night shift, and like in the US, people go and have dinner and drinks and see their friends, and it's the same concept. So a huge population of folks, are working through the night. And it actually is pretty great for people who have kids. Like if you have kids, you're working at night, and then when they wake up, you take them to school, you sleep while they're at school, then you come home, you get dinner with them, you put them off to bed, and then you work. It's a really great working professional kind of environment for our virtual assistants.
Love
Was
that.
Go ahead, Christy. I was going to say, was that a weird thing when you first started the company, just to like consider like, okay, this is such a different world? Like, how did you come up with policies and procedures and things for that stuff? I'm sure you've like failed forward on that.
Yeah, actually, I like that question mostly because like what we do now is our big value proposition is we'll help you not screw it up. Like, because I did in the beginning. I didn't have SOPs. I didn't have a system for them to work in. I didn't have regular meetings. I didn't have the right way to create outcomes. Like everything that we're talking about is 12 years, 5,000, businesses of failing forward. Like it's not I hate to say it, but in the beginning, I just didn't know what I didn't know. And just like many people, I mean, think back to your first real estate transaction, right? I just didn't know how to be a real estate broker. I didn't know how to run a global organization back in 2007 when I did it. So what's cool is we just finished a book. I'd love to give it away. And it's put all of our heart and soul into how to do this thing virtually for real estate people. Like everything that I've learned, everything that we've learned from our clients. I mean, we're very active in finding out what really helps somebody grow and scale. And then we put that into our book.
So I have a question for you guys, because we've been talking a little bit about how the industry, we didn't really talk about this, but we talked about how the virtual world is changing and how it's going to increase. But we also know there's a lot of transition happening in the world of real estate. So for our real estate listeners, and you guys have a global business, so you really have to pay attention to a much wider data, I guess, or news, or whatever you have to be really highly educated. So how do you as leaders kind of forecast and stay ahead of the curve so that as change is happening, you're seizing that opportunity versus being reactive and protective? Like how do you each do that together, Daniel, or is that your thing, or like what does that look like on your team?
So funny. We just went to a conference, and I think it's the perfect example of how we work together. I called it the night shift, and she called it the day shift. And so we went to a conference. It's not in the real estate space, so we're both learning together. And she went to all the trainings, and then I met the people at the bar that like control all the influence in the industry. And so it was great because she's like, oh, I saw this presentation and I learned so much and I got this thing. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she's like, did you talk to this guy? I'm like, yes, I talked to that guy. I have his cell phone. It's here, And so for me, that's just more confirmation of how we work together. She's in the operational details, and I'm talking to the people who can actually move the needle for us. So that's probably how the interesting question is like, what do I see in real estate? What's changing? What's new? And I want to give that to your audience because I'm traveling all over, meeting with clients, going to conferences, asking them for data. So we're in a weird market right now. If you're listening, the next 6 months is going to really tell. LA just shifted. San Diego just shifted. We're starting to see foreclosure. We had on our show, we had the founder of the NRBA, so the National REO Brokerage Association.
Yep.
Phenomenal guy. I really enjoyed that. But he's starting in the Northeast to see more foreclosures. And so our market's going to bifurcate, meaning the teams that are generating most of the revenue and they have great operational teams and they have systems and process, they're going to gain a huge percentage of the market. Yeah. And then everybody else is going to go low commission, volume, kind of, not where I want to be. But think Walmart, think Target, right? So as a team, what you have to start focusing on is how do you add so much value to your internal agents and therefore your clients so that, your business is protected.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, let's ask you guys, because I know this is a question that everybody always wants to know, but what was your biggest communication issue that you had to work through? Are you willing to walk us through that?
Yep, she gets to go though.
Oh gosh.
Or biggest problem in general, it could be that too.
We've had more than one incident. I'm going to be candid for your audience.
Yep.
And that's a good thing, I think, actually. I think just slowing down the entrepreneur and the visionary, like, I think that's where we've had our biggest issues. And back to what I said, minutes ago, like making sure that I could speak in a way, which I wasn't doing when we had the blowouts, Lindsay. Let me restart this. I think basically, slowing the entrepreneur down,
yeah.
It's been our biggest theme. And then also understanding that speed is the key to every successful organization, and innovation and agility. So kind of embracing that at the same time, I think, is what we do now that maybe I didn't do earlier on working with Daniel. And then, like he has said, I think he tempers himself and pauses and asks questions. But yeah, we've had some pretty intense conversations about speed of decisions, ease of implementation, like total disconnects between a visionary and an ops person. And we worked through them with great communication. But yeah, there were some red faces, I won't lie.
So the challenge for the entrepreneur, and this will help mindset, for your operations kind of audience right now, the challenge is I can move fast.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning fast.
Right.
But my organization is the sum of 1,200 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And those 1,200 individuals only move as fast and as efficient as our communication strategy, as our ability to roll out an operational process or system. And so sometimes I'm thinking, let's go mod, and we're charging forward. And what that means is I either have to go alone,
right,
or I have to slow down to the speed of our organization and then, make stuff happen. And, that's just a daily battle that I have to kind of wrangle myself with. And to be truthful, that's where most of my frustration lies, is the speed at which we execute. And, I just have to accept where we are.
Every entrepreneur in the world would say that.
Well, and what's funny, I think a lot of times, like, and I don't know, this could be interesting conversation here at the end, but like, there are people in the leadership or visionary place that when that's happening and the business isn't going fast enough, they're like, I have the wrong people, right? Like, it's the immediate thing they go to. And I think a lot of times we're not, they don't understand that they can't run at lightning speed and have everybody else trained, on board with the vision, fully understanding where we're going, all those things. So I love what you just said about that.
And Lindsay, let me be clear. If you think you have the wrong people, your leadership is messed. Like, you might have somebody that's a culture mismatch. That might be the truth. But the reality as an entrepreneur, you have to pause, be thankful, look at things as they actually are, and realize that you're trying to move a large organization. right? And some people listening might be a team of 3 or 5. There's a lot of, you can be very nimble when you're small and you can move very quickly, but you start getting to 20, you start getting to 50, and all of a sudden the reality set in, and that mindset has to go away. Like that mindset, when we have a consultation with somebody and they're like, I hate my team, I'm like, okay, whoa, maybe we don't want to work with that guy, because that guy hasn't learned yet what it means to be a true leader. And that's a challenge that we have, because our industry, 90% of our industry churns every 5 years, real estate folks, and the operational people are like, wait, what about me? I still love this industry. I still love what I do. So
thank you for
you guys have any rules, like the line you won't cross, or the rule like we have to like kiss and make up before bedtime? Do you have any kind of communication rule between you?
Absolutely no rules. That's one of my rules. Actually, I'll answer that though. Our job is to serve our clients and to serve our VPs. And my job is to serve her. Like, it's nuts. If you think about it, like, what is my job? Well, if I can help her overcome some certain challenge or thing, then the business wins, and vice versa. She's like, Daniel, let us take that off your plate and you can go do crazy stuff. I'm like, okay.
I literally just got tears in my eyes when you said that. That was really powerful. My job is to serve her. Truly, if every entrepreneur had that in their heart about their shotgun leader, their business would explode.
Yep. Well, it's not, the problem is it's not always easy to have. I mean, I have to remind myself that's my role.
She can remind you too.
That's true. Well, and that leads us into, I feel like this will take us out really easily. What do you guys feel like was the best thing you've done together? Like, what was like, man, we did this thing and it was so awesome.
That's interesting.
Ooh. We have a lot of those. I mean, when we have daily alignments about our people, that's the best thing I think we do. And I think any duo needs to do that, like whether the people you serve externally or internally. And when we are more and more aligned on those, when we suggest to the other, hey, I think we should do this for our clients, or I think this is great for our team, and the other person's like, totally agree. Like, that's a win. And I think we both feel that, like, wow, like alignment is there. But it's, to Daniel's point, it's always when we serve in alignment, that's the win.
I know that there's no extraordinary answer, and that's why I love the question, but the reality is when she's like, hey, I did this, and I'm like, well, that's exactly what I would have done. So we're good. Like, that's the win that happens and that I'm excited about, because it frees me to go jump on a plane. It frees me to consider how to change our model to grab more market share or be more profitable or be more impactful for our clients. And so, our world is like, are we serving our VPs? Are we serving our clients? How can we grow and double and be more impactful?
I love that. Megan, if an entrepreneur is listening, what's the one thing they could do to multiply their relationship with their shotgun leader? And then Daniel, I want to hear what's the one thing that the shotgun leader can do to multiply their relationship with the entrepreneur?
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Christy. Understand your second, or specifically your ops person, likely has a totally different skill set and ninja set of skills than you do. Respect that, trust in it, know that she or he is totally working to your benefit and the organization's benefit, but trust that they have a totally different set of ninja expertise that you and the org need to grow together.
Love that. Daniel.
Yeah, great question. Megan does a great job in just reminding me all the time that she's serving the organization. And I think that's the thing. When we as a leadership team, duo get misaligned, it's always around, is she serving the company how I need that to be done? And so like when she reminds me on a regular basis, hey, I did this, I think this is going to serve us long term, I want to make sure that you agree, like those kind of, those kind of little things where I kind of know her intentions are pure, even though, I work with her, I know her, somehow those reminders really, increase the level of trust, and therefore the level of autonomy I feel like I can provide, the level of freedom really for me.
Love that.
That's awesome. And all of that trust that you guys have didn't come right away. You worked into it, right?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. And it's daily work. I think
Yeah.
we would all acknowledge that. It's easier now,
Yeah.
but to your point, the natural person in you wants to keep moving fast, and you said that earlier.
Yep.
But yeah, it's daily effort.
Well, and that's the other thing is, like, if I had 1,200 people just like me, I wouldn't have a business, right? So there's only, driving revenue, playing with a model, understanding the allocation of capital. That's what an entrepreneur does. But I also understand there's a lot that I don't do. And so if, you think that you do a lot or you can do it all, I think that's the place that people get screwed up. When a billionaire buys a sports franchise, they never say, how am I going to run that thing? They always say, who do I need? And so once you transition from, what do I need to do to who do I need on my team? Like revenue just kind of goes up.
Can you please call the owner of the Redskins and tell him that? Just kidding.
I'm not a Redskins guy, so no. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I'm in a mastermind with this guy. He does $70 million in revenue annually. Like it's a nuts thing. And the other day he said, well, I'm gonna be a head coach of a football team, and here's my strategy. Now I'm a wrestling coach, and the head coach of my wrestling team actually is the football coach. And so I've gotten around football, and I know a little bit about it. His strategy was just bad. So that's why he wanted to volunteer at a high school and not buy $1 billion franchise, right? And so I think it's just so great. People fantasize about being an entrepreneur, being a leader, but the deciding factor is who's on my team, how I'm going to tie them to the vision, and what am I going to do to grow and double my business, right? What's my model? What's my financial, kind of results or levers? And that's the game that we're in.
I love it. So how do people get in touch with you guys if they want to use Mod?
Yeah, I love it. I want to give everybody a book. So if you're listening, all the stuff that we've just talked about is actually detailed out in exactly specific, actionable, recipes and frameworks and all of that for you. All you have to do is text SVP, so it's Scale with Virtual Professionals. So S is in Sam, V is in Victor, P is in Paul, to 31996, and you'll get a copy. Now it's an advanced copy, so there's some errors, and watch out for spelling and all that. We're finaling it up right now. In fact, I should have it next week. But you get an advanced copy, and you pay $0 for it. And
Thank you.
Thank
yes, and I would
put that in there.
Say again.
We'll put that in the comments here so everybody knows how to do it.
Perfect. And obviously, if you want a consultation, we help operation leaders add value to their team leaders or owners or whoever's on their team. Like, if you want a consultation, we will walk you through what we comfortably can handle and what we can't, and look at your plan for the next year and really what you need to do in order to double or triple your business.
I love it. And they can go to www.myoutdesk.com in order to actually have that consultation. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys, for being on. It's been a huge pleasure to get to know you, Megan, and Daniel. We appreciate your time. We know how busy you guys are, and we'll see you at the Ops Boss retreat very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
You too.